So I wanted to remind you guys about the contest that I'm doing for a free Dutch Plus test. Many of you have asked me, well, what is this Dutch Plus? I'm not yet a client. I'm curious. A lot of my clientele, first of all, are women, but I do work with some men. But most of them are women who have hormone or autoimmune conditions, and both of which, are making them crazy, and they want to get to the bottom of some things. And so I suggest that we test out their hormones. The most common response that I'll get to that will be, but I had some blood work done. Well, blood work is great. It's a great starting point. It is what insurance automatically will pay for. But what I have found is that it's not as detailed. It's not quite as complete as this Dutch Plus is. And that's one of the reasons that I love it. It gives me a huge picture to pick and pull from and figure out and place those puzzle pieces into the correct area to help my clients figure out how they need to eat, what types of lifestyle changes they need to make, and what they are going to be needing to do. So let me share with you a little bit about the Dutch test. So I have not done a Dutch Plus test on myself yet, and I cannot legally share any of my clients who have done it. I have done the Dutch complete. So I just want to give you guys a brief overview of what this looks like. So let me share my screen really quickly here, or maybe not so quickly, as Zoom tends to be a little slow when I'm trying to do something important and critical and all things well-being. Okay, so hopefully you guys can see this. This is my test here, my personal test. And I struggle with PCOS. I was diagnosed, oh gosh, almost 20 years ago now. And so one of the things that I do is I test myself frequently. So the last one that I did was in September. I am due for another one, but that's neither here nor there. So let's get into here what we're looking at here. So the first thing that we look at is the sex hormones, and you've got three dials up here on the top. The first one is estradiol, the middle one is progesterone, and the next one is testosterone. If I'm running this test on a male, it's only going to have estradiol and testosterone at the top. It won't have progesterone. But the reason they moved estradiol to the front line, so to speak, is because that is the estrogen that they consider the most dangerous, the one that we need to address. It's also the one that we see, or at least I see, most commonly like way over the star limit over here on the right hand side. So for a woman who still is menstruating, 4.5 is the higher range. Can I run this on a menopausal or postmenopausal woman? Absolutely. That's what that purple range is on the lower left. So I unfortunately am not postmenopausal. I wish I was, but I'm not there yet. So I need to fall between the stars. And originally on my first test, I was well beyond the right hand star. So this was definitely an improvement for me. My progesterone level looks really good. And then my testosterone level is actually on the lower end. And if any of you with PCOS are watching this, the common conception or misconception is that all of us have elevated testosterone. Well, that's not the case. A lot of times, what happens is we end up converting all of that testosterone into estrogen, in particularly estradiol. Then we see those elevated levels. So, if you're still having symptoms of, too much body hair, body weight, you're not comfortable, your cycles are still irregular, this is one of those tests that could really be a game changer for you, because I know it was for me. My blood work always came back textbook normal, but I still had a bunch of symptoms. And I was like, well, what's going on? And ran this test. And sure enough, I was what we call estrogen dominant. So let's take a look here at this next layer. We have the cortisol pattern. Cortisol is your stress hormone. It is what the adrenals produce when you're in that fight, flight, or freeze mentality. So you can see my adrenals are taking a hit. I am working a lot of hours, lots of stress. I have, multiple jobs, parenthood, just got married, just moved, all of these things. And sure enough, I knew that this would be something that I would need to work on, but it's not anything that we can't fix, okay, or can't work on. And then the next one over here to the right, you see DHEA. gives me a picture of how your master hormone is producing or what you've got in your body because this DHEA gets converted to testosterone and cortisol. And depending on what your body needs, is the direction it's going to go. I'm going to skip over those green lines. I usually do when I'm explaining these to my clients. It's a lot of biochemical information. Don't want your eyes to glaze over if they haven't already. So in this section, we get to take a look at where your progesterone is sitting. It lets me know upstream as well. So the pregnenolone that actually is the precursor to progesterone, and then how the pregnenolone comes and can convert into DHEA. So we can look upstream, not just at what that snapshot is in that particular moment for your hormones. Okay. The next thing that I would look here is how active is your aromatase enzyme. So if you notice over here on the left-hand side, you've got these gray dotted arrows and they say aromatase above it. That's that enzyme that takes the testosterone and turns it into estrogen. So you can see I'm kind of all over the place, getting back to where we need to have my hormones balanced. Okay. Tells me if I am more androgenic, like if I naturally want to produce more testosterone, that's the 5 alpha. So yes, my body does. Doesn't surprise me being PCOS. Or 5 beta, does my body want to produce more estrogen? Okay. Tells me a little bit about how my liver is functioning in terms of, how well it's getting rid of the estrogens, the excess estrogens that are a byproduct of my own production. So you'll see all these CYPs, those are liver enzymes, tells me how well that's functioning and if I need to address anything. Gives me a snippet on the ratio, which is something that I use in practice to determine what direction we're going to go, what foods I'm going to tell you that you need to increase or decrease in your diet. Tells me how well you methylate and can kind of give me a hint of, do you have any genetic mutations such as the COMT or the MTHFR? This is not a genetic panel. I do not use genetic testing in my practice at this point, simply because most of my clientele simply can't afford it. However, I do have some clients that will bring it to me and we'll take a look at it. I'll add it into when I'm factoring with the Dutch. Okay, so in my case, I don't methylate very well, and I need those methylated B vitamins. All right, tells me how well my melatonin production is. You're going to see my level is very, very high. I take melatonin pretty much every single night. I definitely have those racing thoughts that gets tied into adrenal dysfunction. So I use some melatonin just to knock me out. And this is the other green area. These are like a little snippet of the organic acids. Tells me how well your body is responding to stress, if there's anything going on upstream in the brain and the hypothalamus and the pituitary. Tells me if there's inflammation or oxidative stress that I need to address. Tells me if you have enough B12 or B6. Those are very important in terms of your homocysteine levels and being able to help you with neurological and cardiovascular health. And then this glutathione is your major antioxidant that is produced in the liver. And so I want to see where that is. I want to see how well your liver is functioning and how well it's being protected. So there you go. That's a basic Dutch test that I use on myself. So what's the difference between the one that I use, the one that I just showed you right now, and this one right here, which is the Dutch Plus? It's not backwards. It looks backwards to me. Anyway, so the Dutch Plus actually looks at your cortisol awakening response. Tells me how well you can get up and out of bed, and if I need to address anything first thing in the morning with you. On top of that, this particular test has the added bonus of the insomnia. If you struggle to sleep at night, this is your test. If you are waking up all night, throughout the night, if you are having a hard time falling asleep, you don't fall asleep until maybe 2-3 hours before you even have to get up. And now you are shut for the day and you're living off of caffeine and sugar, shooting your diet, shooting your all of these things. See, like it just spirals. And that's what the beauty of these Dutch tests are. It gives me the ability to take a look at what it is that is going on at what level and to be able to address you using nutrition. So if that sounds of interest to you, here's how you can get an entry into potentially winning this Dutch Plus test. First of all, if you are not a client, become one. Schedule your foundation session. You can either call me at area code 253-507-5775, Or you can go online to my website, which is www.neogenesisnutrition.com. You can click on schedule your session, and that will take you right in. It'll ask you to fill out some forms. You book your foundation session. We're off and running. I will reach out to you right after or the next day, depending on when you're watching this video. Um, the other thing that you can do is refer people to me. And if you send me a referral and they sign up and they do their foundation session by January 31st, you are guaranteed a ticket. And for each person that comes to me that is a referral of yours, you get a raffle ticket. So the more people you send, the more chances that you have at winning this test. So you can do it by becoming a client by January 31st or by referring clients to me by January 31st. I will make I will do the drawing in the first part of February, so February 2nd, 3rd, something like that. I know that it kind of falls on the weekend on the 1st, so shortly after that, I will be doing the drawing and then letting you guys know who won. So go ahead, reach out. You know you want to. Talk to you soon, and thanks so much. Bye.